see some grass and some trees, and you're done. You know.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. You know, everyone has every lifestyle. You know, has their thing. You know, some are sex, some are drugs, some is money and guns. So, you know, it's just the way the community works today. It encourages certain ways to be certain things in the way it is.
I mean, straight people still have a swinger party. You know,
you're coming together.
They get their freak on. So I mean, you know, who am I to speak about? Hey, you know, just know what you're getting into. That's all I say.
Hey, someone once told me I would have been more shocked to find out that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. So
I thought she was a prostitute. That was the key was. It's like I've heard people say that her and Jesus had gotten married. So, like some of those lost books of the Bible, they kind of go into that. But
sort of like the Jay-Z and Beyonce of today, huh?
I guess. But I mean,
enough about that. Though. Let's talk. Let's get into more about the clubs. What were the names of some of these clubs and these places that were supporting the LGBT community?
Okay, so when I was hanging out, like I said, I was adventurous and I had to try to find out where the areas were. But Chicago, I hate to say, it was a little on the segregated side because the area that I'm speaking of, Boys Town, was mostly like white gay people. And on the edge of that, you had like a black gay club where blacks and whites would go. And I didn't really start going into the black bars until later. But at Club LeRae, I think I've gone there 3 times the whole time they were open. But each time I went, it's like the night never finished because they always had a fight, you know. The lesbians were fighting or something.
Oh,
but
wow.
I used to go to like some of like the more like gothy underground clubs. But as far as just like sit down bars, like Christopher Street, that was my first gay bar, which is now it's been several bars now. Now it's Hydrate. This is on Clark Street. A lot of the gay bars are on Clark Street. At that point, I fell in with like the DJ crowd, and like they were always throwing these little underground parties and stuff. So for a while, I wasn't even really going to bars. I was just going to all these little underground parties.
Right.
But some of the bars that we used to go to, I'd say like around in the mid-'90s, we used to go to Kaboom nightclub. Oh, because then bars started doing like gay night. You know, so you'd have a regular bar that was hopping during the week, but then on the weekends we would get like a Sunday night, and we had to come to the side entrance, and you know, they didn't want to use their main street address because they didn't want to get known to be a gay bar, or even if they were throwing a gay night.
Right. Wow, the diverse.
But you know what? There was like the warehouse, okay? You know, like house music and stuff.
Yes.
I just barely missed that whole era, but a lot of my other like earlier like house brothers and sisters used to like sneak and go there to the warehouse, places like Power Plant and the Reactor. I think I caught a Reactor or something.
Legendary clubs.
Yeah, these are clubs where we mostly like 10 gay people together. Like that seemed like more of a New York phenomenon with the gays and straights partying together. In Chicago, it was a little bit more separate. But then, like when house music became really big, then everybody kind of like was all in it together. And so yeah. I came in on more like going to like the video bars and stuff. They play all the music videos and whatever, pretty much stand around and drink. But as far as dance clubs, I didn't really start getting into the dance clubs until we had Clubhouse, the Generator. Now this would have been like the early '90s.
Yeah, 28, Clubhouse, Octagon, Crash. There was, oh my God, there were so many.
So, Yeah, I mean, as far as the bars go, I can't recall anything really right now, but
Well,
I'll throw it in.
that's cool. Well, let's go into the history of the Chicago Midwest history.
Okay, so
Well, before that, how did you actually get into the whole ballroom?
okay, I didn't know anything about ballroom. Like I said, I barely knew about warehouse, house music, and all that kind of stuff. So I was catching the tail end of that. In the process of me going to the bar, at that time I also had an older lover. Well, that's what we used to call them back then, lovers.
Right. Ooh,
Partner.
take it back, Charlie.
I used to go with him to all the bars, and by that time, all the bartenders knew who I was, so I could go without him. You know, this became known. So anyway, I was at this video bar, and they played this video, and it was like these silhouettes. These dudes were like, I don't know what they were doing, but it was just giving me goose pimples. I mean, it was just giving. I'm like, oh, what are they doing? Because I'm a creative soul, and I'm like, oh, this is really weird. This is interesting. This is different.
I know that's.
And then the light came on the video, and it was. I'm like, oh my God, these are three dudes, because it looked kind of almost like feminine. These poses that they were doing and everything, and it was like the Deep in Vogue video. It was Willie and Adrian and Aldana.
Shout out to
So that's when I first saw it, but I didn't really. And then I kept trying to get a hold of the video because I wanted to see it again, so I could actually, what is this I'm actually seeing? Didn't know what it was called. Then later on, hanging out at the clubs or whatever, a friend of mine had went to New York. He came back. He was telling me, oh, my goodness, you got to go to New York. The kids are standing around. They're posing. They've got, like, pictures cut out of magazines, safety pins to their jackets. And I was like, ooh, that sounds stupid. But then later on, I made a connection with, like, this is voguing. That's what he was talking about. So I got me a copy of that video, and then I bootlegged the copy, and then started practicing or whatever. That would have been like about 80. That was in 89.
Right.
Like the shade, the backstory is that, Malcolm McLaren had come out with Deep in Vogue before Madonna came out with her Vogue, and they're both on the same record label. But either Madonna or her staff got the push and the promotion. So the beginning of 1990, when her tour kicked off, I had been practicing voguing. A friend of mine was like, who worked at a TV studio out in the suburbs, was like, oh my God, they're having a contest where you submit a Vogue to, MTV Vogues to Vogue video contest. So it's like, do you know any other people that can Vogue? And I was like, at that time, I had just started hanging out with Wardell Avant-Garde, Father Wardell Ford. He's a designer too. And he had seen me at clubs, trying to. Earlier on, my style, I kind of patterned my style of dancing after Jody Watley. I was a big Jody Watley fan. So actually, I think I probably started off whacking. Didn't realize I was whacking,
Wow.
and then got into voguing later on.
Shout out to Joe,
But so as far as the Midwest scene or Chicago scene starting, by the time I discovered voguing, there already was one house that had tried to form, put like in '86, I think. It was the house Avant-Garde. Wardell saw me, and he brought me into the house. We did the video, submitted it, and we became one of the winners. And so that kind of really sealed my membership into Avant-Garde. So we were the only house in Chicago. Now, there was the old tradition of the Southside Sissy balls. This was the old drag balls from back in the day. And I went to a couple of those, but as I was learning about the Harlem format from New York, it just wasn't like matching. I kind of liked the Harlem format. But the only thing is that the old drag balls didn't have voguing in them. That was like really the only difference.
Yeah.
And we were never able to really combine forces and just put it all together, because I guess in New York's history, the voguing got brought to the balls and just became part of the you know, and then houses were formed, and that just became part of the drag ball timeline. But anyway, so in Chicago, we had the House of Avant-Garde, and we didn't really have any other houses to compete with. Well, there was one house, House of Iman. I actually was a member of House of Iman briefly, but we never did anything, so I got snatched up by Avant-Garde. And so, shout out to Scott Iman. That was one of the first people I kind of saw live, voguing like I saw those people voguing in the video. Because little glimpses and pieces I would catch of it, it wasn't looking right.
Wow.
So basically, Avant-Garde being the only house in Chicago at the time from '86, I joined in '89. We pretty much did a lot of showcasing, and so like in New York, they were having the Love Ball. Fashion industry in Chicago started to do something similar to that, and had two different balls. They did the Chicago Vogels Ball. Yeah, but they weren't really like what we were learning about as far as the balls and the voguing scene. And they would hire people from New York to come down, like David Ian, Extravaganza, and Extravaganza would come down and perform. But they would never use local people, so we were starting to try to get noticed, and that MTV video helped us get noticed. So we started doing gigs around Chicago, opening up club events and stuff. And then we started talking about throwing a ball. See, that's the thing. A lot of people were talking about throwing a ball. But nobody ever really got off their butt and did anything. So I got some connections by the time, in 1990, I started getting connections, and we were trying to put together a ball. We actually put together a mini ball at this club, AKA's, and did,
That's right.
a week before our ball was supposed to happen, the bar had closed, so that event didn't even get off. It didn't even materialize. I still have the flyer for it, too.
You need to post that up.
Yeah, I got a lot of flyers and old promo stuff and old pictures and whatnot.
Yes. You need to share
Time
that
to go
with the world. It's time, darling. Yes. What are you waiting for? This is from hearing your own story. You know, it seems like, you know, it's becoming more and more and more throughout, you know, the world. So continue.
Oh yeah. So basically, by the time we actually did throw our first ball, and now the kids were starting to catch on to voguing and everything. You know, everybody had Vogue Fever from Madonna's tour, and it was like trying to get people to participate. So we try to have categories that were based on the Harlem format, but also some that people could understand and easily participate in.
Right.
So that ball was pretty successful. Then by the time we had the next ball, a couple months later, a couple houses started branching off. So now we had people to compete, actually, as houses. But Avant-Garde still was the one throwing the ball. So Avant-Garde hadn't got the chance yet to compete at balls. We were throwing them.
Work.
So finally, I would say in 92 is when I had been in Avant-Garde for about 4 or 5 years. I was pretty much considered the ball coordinator for the house. Me and another member started our own houses, and we debuted at October. What year was that? One Halloween, we threw a ball in at this place called Hot House. I think that was 93, 94. No, wait, 92. Wait, 92. About 93, I'll say. And that's when I started the House of ENIGMA, and my other house brother started the House of Elan, Kenny Elan. And that made more houses that could compete. So now, you know, different houses started throwing balls. meatballs mostly.